The S25 Ultra is right around the corner, and the biggest thing that it needs to fix is the camera. So, the S24 Ultra, it has a perfectly serviceable camera system, and of course, they made the change this last year that pissed people off. They took away the 10 times telephoto and they dropped it to a 5 times. What does that get you? Well, it gets you more intermediate range portrait shots. They still maintain like the super high space zoom and all that crazy stuff that they've been famous for. They make up for a lot of that 10 times to 5 times with the AI and processing and algorithm, computational photography, all that crazy stuff. But the whole meat and potatoes of this camera system still is not, it's not ultra. It's not ultra. Even though it's got a 200 megapixel camera, even though it's got like the farthest zoom out of the US based camera phones, and I think so anyway. Anyway, it's out there. And all the different things we've got. We got 4 different cameras back here. 4 cameras, 2 dedicated telephoto lenses, and here's some hard numbers. So whether you follow or subscribe to the DxOMark scores, DxOMark is like the standard whenever it comes to evaluating smartphone cameras, and they test them thoroughly, and they rank them in, of course, different areas: video, camera, photography, selfie, all that stuff. So if I told you that the S24 Ultra, according to the DxOMark score, is not in the top 10 of smartphones, would you be surprised? Would you be surprised if it wasn't in the top 10 to 20? Not even cracked the top 20. Would that surprise you? Probably so. What if it was barely in the top 30? So out of all the phones that are out there in the last couple of years, the S24 Ultra globally is ranked 28th in the camera department and 24th out of premium, like ultra premium tier smartphones. That's not good. It takes good photos. It takes good video. It shoots 8K, 30 frames per second, 24 frames per second, all that great stuff. It has some nice software features, but it's still missing in low light. The 200 megapixel camera just doesn't always show up the way that it should. We still have more lag than most other phones when it comes to the image capture and the shutter lag and things like that. And for a phone that calls itself the Ultra, I think we should start expecting better. So I really hope that the S25 Ultra can capitalize, take advantage of the new image signal processor that we get with the Snapdragon 8 Elite. And I've used several phones with the Snapdragon 8 Elite processor. And I've used some from last year to this year. And of course, a lot of that goes into camera optimization, software optimization, the image signal processor, just all sorts of different things. And how it's implemented with the hardware and software configuration. But I've seen some promising results with other phones that have improved year over year. So I'm hoping that we see an improvement in the processing. I'm hoping we see an improvement in the speed. I'm hoping we see more accuracy and true to life photos when it comes to low light stuff, better representation, and more stability when it comes to like video and things like that. They're just little areas in many different areas of the camera that just don't hit the mark. And I'm sorry, if you're going to pay $12.99 for this phone, like $12.99, it's the most expensive normal flagship smartphone in the United States, and it's barely in the top 30 out of DxOMark ranking scores when it comes to cameras. Now, that doesn't mean it can't take good photos. I'm usually pretty happy with the photos that it takes in most instances, but there are areas where when you compare it to the iPhone, there's areas when you compare it to the Pixel phone where they're clearly better and they clearly exceed, and they don't have that Ultra attached to their name, do they? No, they don't. Now, it might say a Pro or a Pro Max or something like that, but yeah, they're very competitive. The Pixel 9 Pro XL 9 Pro is the number 1 smartphone camera in the US. It's second globally, like by like one number, like it's just slightly off. And then the iPhone 15 Pro Max is right behind that. The iPhone 14 Pro Max is right behind that. The Pixel 8, the S24 Ultra is ranked lower than like 2-year-old smartphones. So I really hope that Samsung doubles down on this. I really hope that they go back to the drawing board and try and make the system better, especially for a phone called Ultra, especially for basically, I mean, they have the largest smartphone market share out of Android in the US, I think maybe globally. I don't keep track of the numbers that closely, but I mean, Android, as much as it is a Pixel thing, it's a Google product. Android is synonymous with Samsung. Samsung is like the Apple as far as like big market share, big Android presence. And that's fine, and they make a great phone. And there's stuff that they offer that other phones don't. So it never comes down to one thing. right? It's never just one thing with phones. Yeah, they may be 24th, 28th when it comes to the camera, but the only one that has an S Pen, I mean, obviously, yes, I mean, Samsung makes the S Pen, but the only one that has, the only premium flagship phone that has a stylus. Of course, they've also got DeX, which is really cool. And yeah, can shoot some pretty cool raw photos with a 200 megapixel camera. But ever since we switched over to the 200 megapixel camera, it's been really hard, really hard for Samsung to try and lock it down and make it the best camera that it possibly can be. And I think a lot of it is they're just trying to do too much pixel binning, too much compression, relying too much on processing and not enough on the raw hardware. And I think that's where Apple and Google are beating them in that department. I mean, it's hard because you take a look, when you take a photo with your phone, when you go into the camera app and you take a look at it, yeah, you're shooting 12 megapixels. So it's binning that 200 megapixel image down to 12. So yes, I mean, it can put a lot of data in there, but at the same time, it's doing a lot of extra legwork that I think is unnecessary. We don't need a 200 megapixel camera. And megapixels is not the best metric whenever it comes to taking better photos, right? So typically, I mean, megapixels are good, but only to a certain extent, right? So like if you want to blow up an image, ideally like you want to look at an 8x10 photo, if you were to print it out, pull it up on a high resolution monitor, you only need like 12 megapixels to get a lifelike representation. And that's what you want. You want a lifelike representation where you can't tell any pixelation. It looks like a normal clear photo to the naked eye. And when you take a look at a 200 megapixel, yeah, you can blow that sucker up the size of like the billboard of the Texans game, right? I mean, it certainly would look better up there than the points we don't score. But that's a slight dig at my team there. So yeah, I mean, megapixels are cool, but there's a lot of science and data that goes into pixels, size of pixels, and all that stuff. Yeah, but ultimately, you don't need a 200 megapixel camera. And I thought the 108 was pretty good. And I feel like we've been a step back ever since we went from the 108 to the 200. And when you take a look back at the 108, I think the S21 Ultra probably was the best version. It was good, right? It was really good. Even the S22 Ultra. But the 108 megapixel camera was solid. And they've always played this game for years. They were the first mainstream phone in the US with the 50. Then they went to the 108, then the 200. What's next? A 500 megapixel camera that we bend down to 12 megapixels, be like 50 times pixel bending, right? Just unnecessary. And I think it creates problems, especially with the low light. I think it creates problems with processing when it comes to capturing an image and the image signal. I think it's just trying to do too much. So I'm sure we're going to get the 200 megapixel camera again. I think that's pretty much already known at this point for as much as you can know about a phone that's not out yet, which it'll be here soon, right? We are getting close to Christmas, for Pete's sake. It is December the 17th, the day of the release of this video, and yeah, we're about a month away from the new phone. There's a lot of stuff we know, like the Snapdragon 8 Elite processor. We know it's going to get One UI 7. It's finally going to have Android 15. Of course, it should be very closely updated on the S24 Ultra and things like that as well. And there's some major changes coming with One UI 7, complete redesign of the user interface. Of course, it's supposed to look more like iOS, which I'm sure they'll do a better job with it than Apple is doing with iOS, which has been riddled with problems for like the last 2 generations, but that's neither here nor there. So anyway, the Ultra phone, the S25 Ultra, that is one of the major areas that they need to succeed in to be an Ultra phone, to be the best phone out on the market, and to give buyers their true money's worth. Now, I'm really excited about it. And the S25 Ultra will set the stage for the entire year. When it comes to the S24 Ultra, this sucker is it's 11 months old, and it's still in contention for phone of the year. I mean, they make good stuff. They support it a long time. Other than this whole snafu with waiting to drop One UI 7, making everyone wait longer for Android 15, they're usually Johnny on the spot, best the last couple of years when it comes to software updates, security patches. Got 7 years of support now. There's a lot of great things that they're doing. So not trying to like ding the phone before it even gets here, and not trying to say this phone is not a good phone, because it's a fantastic phone. And there's been a lot of great deals on it and things like that. So that's just some food for thought, some just topic of discussion. I was sitting around thinking, like, what can they do to take the S25 Ultra to the next level? And tying that in with the Snapdragon 8 Elite processor, with all the massive power bump and improvement in performance and the new image signal processor and all the things, hopefully it takes it to the next level. I'd love to see them crack the top 10. I'd love to see them be number 1. I would love to see them challenge iPhone. I would love to see them challenge the Pixel phone because that's where we get change. That's where we get competition. And we've been sitting around in the laurels for a little while when it comes to the Samsung camera. So that's all I got. Any questions, comments, gripes, concerns, complaints, all that stuff, please go to the comment section. I'll do my best to get back with you. If you enjoy this stuff, if you like these videos, you want to see more Samsung content, a lot of it's coming because that's going to be a big focus this next couple of weeks and month as the new phones come out. Stay tuned, stay prepared for that. Also, sorry, no video the last 2 days. So I was on a cruise with OnePlus, and I can't talk too much about other stuff like shop talk, but I was gone for a couple of days. It was a cool time. Got to see lots of friends. Got to get digest lots of information, do some cool activities and stuff. But I had 3 videos prepared when I left. So I dropped one Thursday when I left. I dropped one Friday on the boat. I dropped one Saturday. And the Wi-Fi, they're like, yeah, you'll be able to use Wi-Fi on the boat. You should be able to get work done and stuff. It would have probably taken 2 days to upload a video. The upload speeds were so bad. Like, it was useless to me. I couldn't get a video uploaded. And then my plan was on Sunday, I was supposed to we were going to get off the boat in the Bahamas. And they have actual land, like real internet there. So I was going to take my laptop and upload my videos. So that way I could get that out for you guys. And, well, due to wind and weather conditions, they had to cancel us stopping, so we just sat out at sea all day, and which was fine, but I couldn't get a video uploaded. So hopefully you enjoyed the 2-day break, but I'm back, baby, and stay tuned for lots of videos. So that's all I got. If you have any questions, comments, all that good stuff, you know where to go. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching. I'll see you guys next time.